Hey, my beautiful babies, look, I wanted to just come up and say things, okay? I'm not going to be able to cover everything, but I want to just, I'm going to break it down so I don't go on a tangent. This is my problem, okay? Now, Native Americans, they governed themselves long before Europeans arrived. They had their own government laws and ways of making agreements with each other, okay? See, with Native Americans, the spoken word was sacred. Agreements were made verbally, honored by memory, and passed down through generations, using things like wampum bells, birch bark scrolls as reminders, and there may be more. But as Native nations, they used to negotiating boundaries and sharing land with neighboring tribes, expected everyone to respect these agreements and in each other's sovereignty. But see, the first contact with verbal was a verbal understandings. Okay, when European, French, British, and later Americans first arrived, they needed native permission to settle and hunt, and based on that, many native nations allowed colonists to use certain lands as long as they respected their sovereignty and followed their agreements that was often made verbally first. Okay, and these agreements are based on mutual and conscious and oral traditions. But you got to say, as settlers arrived, um, and colonial officials wanted written agreements to claim land and establish peace. But let's see, the formal written treaties between the colonies of Native came in, I think, around the 1621, which was it with the Wampanoag leader, Massasoit. I need some of my native babies to help me with this, okay? But the protection lasted for 54 years, okay? But this treaty that was often based on earlier verbal agreement, um, the colonial side wanted documents to proof of ownership, right? Okay. Now, this is the what was expected. Native nations expected all parties and other tribes and colonists to honor sovereignty, okay, their sovereignty, and keep their word, okay? They allow colonists to live, farm, hunt in certain areas as long, babies, Jesus, as long as they they respected the boundaries and the agreements that was initially agreed on verbally. Verbally, okay? And this is where the problems began. The colonists broke these agreements, babies, ignored boundaries, brought more settlers than agreed, leading to conflict and loss. Okay? So I want you to understand. I'm going to keep this going because I can't sum this up. But you got to understand why this is important to where we're at now. We're honoring and trying to build on something that was already broken from the beginning, and we need to go back on the initial beginning of where it started. This is 1492, babies. Well, I don't know where we coming in from when all this Constitution uh, written agreement in 1621 started all this mess. But the problem is, which I mean, come on, we see this all the time. Well, how many times have you got a contract and you got that little bitty fine print like that? You got to do like this to see where it's at. That that little fine print had just exceeded everything which you basically agreed upon verbally. Come on, babies. I need your help. Okay? Um, I love you. I'm all into dad supporting dad, but I'm into bringing us all together. And my page, which is Pace System, um, and uniting us into one voice. With all our indifferences. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. But we need to come to the table, what was started in the beginning, and start building on respecting each other's for who we are. Okay? Well, then we can go. But where we're starting at right now, it's not cool, babies. Do I agree with Trump? Um, I only agree with how he came in and disrupted a party that he no longer, believe in, whether it's Democrat or Republic. He's just going on and saying, well, but he holds a position to make sure that he protect us from from dumber and dumb. See, and that's not what he's doing. He's creating these dog whistles, and he's creating conflict only so for him to come in and say to get his role at this important table of billionaires. He's a poor billionaire to me. He's just an average billionaire. He's started off. He's not where Elon started. I mean, Elon started with, I think it was primarily what, 24,000. He started with millions. He's older. He's damn near 1 foot in the grave. And Elon has prospered more because people, not that he's doing it, but he had a vision and everybody could relate to it. And they built a company, Tesla, off his vision. That's it. So I don't want to go on a tangent. There's going to be many parts to this because I cannot sum it all up into one. But I want to just tell you that in the summary, you got to understand the first thing that came first was a verbal agreement. Then came the written treaties. And then the long sovereignty agreements was to allow the colonists to enjoy the land as long as they respected the verbal agreements of sovereignty. But when it was broken, this is when the conflicts is followed. And this is what we're seeing right now, babies. Babe, this is what we're seeing now. This is the conflict. And it's hurt, babies. I'm hurting. I am hurting because I see all of this is playing a part of it. We are all becoming scribes and Pharisees. Okay? We are all becoming the scribes and Pharisees. We want to bring this woman, this adulterous woman, to be stoned. And yet, he looked up to him and he said, hey, listen, if any one of you have not sinned, cast the first stone. My English settlers and French settlers are colonists. If any one of you have not sinned, bring forth those who you are trying to kick out that, quote unquote, didn't honor their agreement, overstayed their welcome, taken jobs, quote, taken land that wasn't entitled to them, claiming property under duress when 95% of a nation was almost knocked out, baby. Baby, they almost annihilated a whole race. Baby, listen to me. 15 million or more Native Americans, they had to come, at least they came together and said, look, baby, we cannot win this war. We cannot win this battle, or we're going to get wiped out. We're going to have to go back and regroup. Our numbers are falling. They're killing us one by one with this piece of paper. It's going to continue, babies, okay? This is only part one. And there's going to be many volumes. All I'm asking you is hashtag a global digital march. Let's get out of this. Let's get out of these streets. Let's get hit and let's create a stronger voice, a voice that if we're not promoting individually prosperity, but unity prosperity. Okay. I'll bring up the next topic because I'm going to go on a tangent. And everybody who I go on to their talk shows, they kick me out, or they say I don't make any sense. But this is my channel now. I'm going to control what's going on because I am that 13 that stands amongst your 12. Okay? How about that? Share this.